Today I'm reacting to Kevin Hart's watch collection. Now you've already reacted to his collection, but this is Kevin Hart openly talking about his collection, which is, I think, the second time he's ever done that. I have an internal conflict with this video. I haven't watched this video at all. I am a huge Kevin Hart fan, and I'm a huge Hodinkee fan, or I was a very much a Hodinkee fan and a Ben Clymer fan, so that was the past. So you would say if Hodinkee makes a video with Kevin Hart, that should go absolutely mad, and I want to see it, but I haven't watched it, and to be honest, I'm just a bit heartbroken with Hodinkee. Hodinkee is not what it used to be. I looked up to Ben Clymer most of my professional life. He's not the same passionate person he was back in the day when he started Hodinkee. That's sad. Look at the John Mayer video. That's potentially the best watch video ever. But it's not the same company, and Ben is not the same either. This is a genuine never meet your hero type of thing, right? I had a call with Ben Clymer, and the call lasted 5 minutes while he was jogging in New York. Like, that is very distracting when you try to have a conversation with someone. Like, Ben Clymer was my hero, and it's just sad. Before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel now. And if you want to buy or sell your watch, go to brideandpinion.com.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Edition. We've got a good one here for you today. We are actually in, I would describe this as suburban Connecticut.
Yes.
At Foxwoods Hotel Resort and Casino with Kevin Hart.
How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good.
A little
good
tired?
Now that I'm talking to you.
Yeah?
A lot tired, but I'm all right.
And what are you doing here at Foxwoods?
I am performing. This is a stop on my reality check tour.
Yeah.
So we're doing 3 shows. It was one last night, 2 today.
Yeah.
Ooh. Then I get on the plane and leave right after.
And you go back home to LA.
Back home, LA. Wife will.
I made it in 8 seconds, and it's boring me to death.
Kevin is something of a watch world kind of hero.
Yes.
Because you're out there, you're wearing something amazing almost every single day, basically
Yes.
every day.
Yes.
And ranging from AP to Patek to Rolex. I mean, all the good stuff.
Yes, I'm a watch guy. So, you know, the brands that are significant to the world.
You have probably the funniest on the planet on camera, and I'm nearly falling asleep. I'm literally falling asleep.
Of watches, I've fallen in love with for a very long time now. I mean, now I'm in a partnership with AP, so I wear APs all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to like keep a lot of stuff on ice, which is, you know, that's tough. Like if you.
Something I've been talking about for many times, and even if you look at the Oscars, for example, where Omega dominated. Brands partner up with celebrities to wear their watches, and that means that these celebrities cannot wear any other watches. This is why you see Omega on the Oscars, because let's be completely honest, if you're an absolute superstar, there's absolute no reason for you to ever wear an Omega. No offense. Now, I'd rather be sponsored by AP than by Omega, but whatever, we'll leave that aside. But he is in a partnership with AP, so that means that Kevin in public is not allowed to wear any other brand. That's how partnerships work, and this is why the Oscars gives you a bit of a false view that Omega is the best watch brand in the world because all these superstars wear Omega. Let me tell you one thing, if these superstars are being paid by Rolex, they would wear Rolex, and if they're paid by Hublot, they would wear Hublot, and if they're paid by Cartier, they would be wearing Cartier. I would love a partnership with AP. AP could potentially be, for me, my one brand I would wear for the rest of my life.
If you're a real watch person, the toughest thing in the world is to not wear.
Exactly. I'm so glad that Kevin is so honest and open about that, because he has so many incredible watches, but he can now only wear AP in public.
So for a duration of time, I'm only wearing APs. But I love AP, so it worked, it fits.
Yeah.
But the world of the rest of my collection, I'm like, I wish I could. What I started to do was associate watches with the work that I was doing. So
That's true. When he was filming in Belfast, his team, and in particular Wayne, big shout out to you, visited our boutique to have a look at a watch. He was looking for something specific from Patek Philippe. But I was very, very clear about that. Although I had the opportunity to present him with a 5711 or a 5712, I was very honest, and I said to his crew that I think it would be better for him to buy this watch throughout authorized channels, and with a name like Kevin Hart, it is significantly easier to obtain that watch. So basically, Kevin buys a watch every movie he makes.
after a project, I was like, you know what I want to get? I want to get a watch, because a watch is like the clear definition of the hard work that I put into something. And when I look at a watch, I can associate.
I always say this, right? Wearing a nice watch reminds you of what you've done to wear this watch or to purchase this watch or to own this watch. It is more an achievement rather than a timekeeping device, or in this case, in Kevin's case, a reminder of what he's done to get where he is right now.
Coming to LA, you take a lot of general meetings. And the people that I were meeting with,
That's a horrible looking thing. That's horrendous.
they always had on nice watches.
Yeah.
And I was like, my watch sucks.
Yes, it massively sucks. It sucks dicks.
What was it? Do you
Oh
remember?
my God, I had like it may have been, I don't want to say it sucks because the guy's a nice guy. So this is,
His mate.
it was a brand watch that was an individual's brand.
Okay.
And he was trying to have his own watches. And it was like diamond in the watch. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is a good watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I probably paid like $1,000 for the watch.
Yeah.
And I got around people, and nobody ever knew what my watch was. They would always, what's that? And I was like, oh, this is it was the guy's name.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, I don't understand. No, this is his watch. He's making these.
It actually looks like Jacob & Co. Does anyone know what this watch is or what this brand is? Let's put this in the comments. Kinda looks like Jacob & Co, to be honest.
I remember the first watch that I bought that gave me like, okay, this is a nice watch.
Yeah, you made it.
It was a Submariner. I had a stainless steel sub.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted the stainless
Nice, very, very nice sub. Pre-ceramic Rolex Submariner date, reference number 16610. It's also written on the screen, to be fair.
it was an everyday watch. It was plain, but it can go with so much. And I was like, I'm gonna spend the money, but I can actually wear this watch.
He looks like such a different person from this image to the person he is now. That's mad. If you'd say this Kevin Hart, I wouldn't even believe you.
Then it was like, okay, well, I have this. Well, what's the next version of? What's like the next level above where this is? And I think I was like 25. 25 for my birthday, I bought a Daytona.
Still a great watch.
Still a great watch, right? And I was like, okay.
25 years old, buys a yellow gold Daytona, reference number 116508. What an incredible watch that is. Okay, the video is getting more into watches. I'm starting to enjoy this a little bit more.
This is it. I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
And then the education started to come of the other brands, because all I knew about was Rolex in the beginning. That's all I knew, right? I didn't know.
But I think that's a general consensus in the watch world or outside of the watch world. If you go on the street now and you ask 10 people about watches or name me a expensive watch brand, 10 out of 10 will say Rolex.
Anything else. So then I started to like ask about other brands, like what were other cool brands. I think I went through a Jacob the jeweler phase.
Everybody.
Yeah, that's a face. That's a bad face, but it's a face.
He does.
At one point, yeah, which
Everyone does, including Ben Clymer, clearly. Can you imagine? Ben Clymer going through a Jacob & Co phase. Ben Clymer wearing the 5 time zones.
you think that that's the stuff that you want, and of course you have no knowledge. So the world of factory, once again, I wasn't hammered in yet. And then I got educated on AP. I found out about the AP watches. That was through the world of hip hop, Jay-Z.
Sure.
I remember when Jay-Z started talking about it.
Of course, 2005.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's when that was like, okay, wow, all right. Well, this is a good brand. Jay-Z's wearing it.
Yep.
He's talking about it. I mean,
Yeah, but Jay-Z also introduced Hublot to the world properly, right?
New watch alert. Hublots.
He made his fair share of mistakes, but every watch collector did. I never made the Hublot mistake though.
What cracked the code for me was like really
Beautiful, beautiful AP Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar in full ceramic.
like, what was he going through?
Patek, of course, that was like another one.
White ceramic then Perpetual Calendar, why not?
Went through a Richard Mill phase as well. So it was like,
R29.
I had my knowledge and I had the wheelhouse that I wanted to be in. And then I said, okay, well, I want to make good investments. I found that they could be treated as art. So what are the investments? What are the correct purchases? Where does my money stay still and not take a significant dip? And as I gained that knowledge, then my taste started to grow as my money started to grow, right? So you start to make more money, your taste in watches change.
Yeah.
So now it's significant.
And are there any pieces along the way, so you mentioned the Submariner and the Daytona, that like really mean something to you? That,
Oh my
like,
God.
The first time you did this, first time so
Yeah, my first Royal Oak. The Royal Oaks were it
Yeah.
at this time. The rose gold, and they had like the rubber, the band on them, right? And I was like, this is the watch. This is it. If I get this watch,
You're done.
I loved that watch. It's reference number 25940. What an incredible watch that was. me. You know what the problem with that watch was? The rubber pushers, they corroded. I don't know if that's the right word. Dried out, and they just fell off. I swear to God. And the bezel is also rubber, and that looked horrendous as well after a couple of years.
This will be my last watch. This is it, and this is
Never last watch, by the way. Never.
So that watch was a significant stamp of knowledge in the entertainment business of how to progress by being authentic, right? Like that's when it was like, okay, transparency, authenticity, that's how you sell, that's how you create. The Big House was my first version of doing that.
It's more than right.
My first
However, the watch he's currently wearing is way too big for his wrist.
Herb was an AP. That's a big watch for me. That was done after my second Scary Movie. Yeah. And then after that, when I started touring, then that's when I became a monster.
Yeah.
Once I got into the world of touring and I associated the watches with the tours, then there was no looking back. I got into the world of vintage.
Yep.
Probably in like 2016.
So what type of stuff there?
I'm all across the board.
Yeah.
Because vintage is tricky. If you don't have the
Sure is.
if you don't have the right people around you, you can get burned.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I definitely got burned. You know,
We've all been there.
Rightfully so.
Ben has also been there. Ben has been in a lot of places, hasn't he? Indeed, Kevin is completely right. Vintage is a very, very tricky market. And therefore, it's very, very important that you surround yourself with people that know what they're actually doing. Vintage is my love, but I don't always feel very much comfortable. And this is why I surround myself with people like, for example, Adam from Menta Watches or Jasper from Amsterdam Vintage Watches. These guys live and breathe vintage watches.
So why do people get burned quite a lot?
There are more Paul Newman dials in the world now than there's ever been created through Rolex. The reason for this is when there's money involved, there's also fraud involved and there's greed involved. And that means that people falsify watches or falsify parts of watches or just make up bullshit stories. For example, the 2018 Ultimate Daytona auction from Philips, where a watch was sold, as we call it, the unicorn. The only Rolex Daytona 6265 ever to be produced in white gold with some bullshit backstory. It turned out to be a fake watch. A watch that, by the way, made coverage in Hodinkee's magazine in 2013. A watch that was brought to auction and sold for nearly $6 million. This was discovered by an investigator, a watch investigator called Periscope, on the 31st of December 2022. And no one in the industry is wanting to talk about that. Everyone is scared to even mention this because they have relationships to protect. Very fortunately, I do not have relationships, so I have nothing to protect. But I just want to share this with you. It's a sad reality of the watch world, and this is why vintage watches are extremely dangerous. This is as well why Kevin says you can get burned very easily. And that's why it's very important to surround yourself by very knowledgeable people that are trustworthy and wouldn't you about.
I've actually got into like some vintage APs too, like really, really nice ones.
This is an unbelievable watch. This is a star wheel made in a Jules line of watches from Audemars Piguet. They recently reintroduced the star wheel in the Code 1159. What a watch that is.
I just like to be different. I don't like to have what everyone else has.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of the search and find. So the watch auction.
Whenever Kevin was found wearing the star wheel, I have seen several star wheels jumping up in price like mad. Don't get me wrong, it's a very rare watch, but the big vintage collectors, big vintage dealers started posting them, increased the price significant. That's as well what happens in the vintage watch world. When someone significant wears the watch, the price goes up.
The other big kind of moment that you were affiliated with AP was the Black Panther launch.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that watch was crazy. And that one, I mean, that was like one of the most controversial watches that has, I've been doing this 15 years. I would say the most controversial watch that's come out in 15 years.
It was a big deal. That Black Panther watch, the time of it was a big deal.
It really
and
was.
The reaction that they got from it was insane. I mean, that auction, the money that was spent on that watch at the auction. So even being a part of that, right, and being attached to that moment, being attached to the auction, being there for what they felt was like a record-breaking day.
A record-breaking day, including Francois as CEO. What an idea and what a project that they pushed through. They raised a lot of money, millions. It says 8 million, but I actually think it was a little bit more than 8 million.
Big. And have
All for charity.
controversy aside, it's a stable watch. Like that watch will last through the test of time. That's a big deal. And I like it because I was actually real close with Chadwick. Like he was a good friend of mine. So that's something that I put on ice. Like I've worn it a couple times, but that's a watch that's more about the story. It has a meaning to it. We were actually supposed to do a movie
Wow.
We were in development of doing Uptown Saturday Night, he and I, before he passed. And it's on, if you go watch my documentary, Don't F This Up, he and I are in the office talking about doing the movie. Like we're meeting. You know, nobody knew. Nobody knew that he was battling what he was battling.
Yeah.
And we were kind of all shaken up, of course, when he passed away, but that watch is my hold of, that's my guy.
Watches carry stories, and that's the most important thing about a watch. Not just reminds you of stuff you've achieved, but also moments and people. I have that with my grandfather's watch, and he has that clearly with a Marvel watch, because that reminds him of his friend. Wow.
This actually may be my favorite watch.
Is that steel?
This is platinum.
50 pieces. This thing is 50
It's
pieces.
one of 40.
40.
This actually may be, I want to say, yeah, they only did 40 of these. This is limited edition. And what's interesting on this one is the counter and the skeleton, but I like that
40th anniversary skeleton in full platinum. Yeah. Some watch, isn't it?
it's a good feeling to look back and have a story attached to your purchases as well.
Yeah.
That's what I like the most.
And we're done.
All right.
Great.
Cool. I like it.
Thanks,
Get over look at that.
Didn't see any watches really. Like, did see a lot of passion with Kevin though. A lot of passion and stories. Love that.
I think what would make you feel better is if Kevin did a proper video with us.
Yes. Proper sit-down video where we have fun, because that's what I missed. I saw passion, I saw emotion, I saw love, but I didn't see fun. I'm done. I'm done.